Yes.
Great. Good evening. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Sacramento-Yolo Port District Commission and Board of Directors of the Sacramento-Yolo Port Financing Corporation to order. I'd like to call that meeting to order. And we did meet in closed session prior to this meeting to discuss item 3 on our agenda. Mr. Legal Counsel, is there any other additional items you'd like to describe from our closed session? Mr. Mitchell. All right, I think I've described it. We did meet and discussed item 3 on our current agenda. So we are conducting this meeting, as you are all of you on this call, via teleconference pursuant to Government Code Section 45953E. And there are descriptions online, and you can communicate with the city clerk and also call into our Zoom meeting to participate in our meeting. That brings us to our first item tonight, which is presentations by the public on matters not on the agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the commission. And we're prohibited by law from discussing issues not on the agenda brought to us at this time. So people can talk, but not bring up new items for us to discuss. Are there anyone? I see that there are 7 attendees and we have 6 panelists. If you raise your hand and want to bring another matter to us, it's not on our agenda. Not right now is the time. All right, seeing no hands, and we've not received any other communication. Have we, clerk?
No other communication.
Okay. Thank you so much. That brings us to our consent agenda this evening, which is consideration of approval of 4 sets of minutes. June 1st of this year, the August 3rd, September 21st, those are regular meetings, and also an August 31st special meeting that we had. So with that, that's our consent agenda. If any of the commissioners want to pull a particular set of minutes off for separate discussion, we can do that, or I'll look for a motion on that item.
I'll move the recommended action.
Moved by Commissioner Ledesma. You're on.
Sorry.
Seconded by Commissioner McGowan. Clerk, you please call for the vote.
Commissioner McGowan?
Yes.
Commissioner Ledesma?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sandine?
Aye, yes, thank you. So the consent agenda passes. I should mention that 2 commissioners are absent this evening, Commissioner Cabalden and Commissioner Villegas. So we miss them tonight, but there are 3 of us here for a majority of our commission. All right, that brings us to item 3, which is our regular agenda, which is consideration of resolution 22-4, authorizing an option agreement for the northeast quadrant of the Seaway property at 2440 Southport Parkway with Smart Growth Investors for a future light industrial development project and making findings related to CEQA and the Surplus Lands Act. So that item's before us. Court Manager Toft, would you please provide us with background on this item?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, commissioners. This item pertains to the northeast quadrant of the Seaway property, which is approximately 72 acres in gross area, 55 acres net of interior streets, so 55 acres net developable. Madam Clerk, can you enable screen sharing for me so I can show a map of the property? So the item before you is a proposed option agreement with Smart Growth Investors, which would provide the developer with an initial 3-year period to purchase 31 of those 55 acres for $6.7 million for an advanced manufacturing project, which we envision to be an anchor project for a much longer term and broader Seaway development project. So I'd like to share my map with you, but
you have access.
Well, it's not letting me, so I'll just move on. I think everyone's familiar with
You want to try it again?
with the location. There we go. Okay, so there is an improved map on the property. These are the 4 parcels. The 55 net developable acres, the 31 acres that we are positioning for an initial land transaction will be parcels 1, 3, and 4 that you see here on the parcel map. So the initial 3-year option does have a 2-year extension provision that's linked to the developer's biospace project in the Bridge District, subject to some performance benchmarks related to that project, which are articulated in the agenda report, the attachment, the option agreement to the agenda report. So the purchase price for the land, $6.7 million, was structured to be equal to the anticipated cost of the infrastructure, so that the initial land transaction is revenue neutral to the port. The agreement requires the developer to construct this infrastructure, to bid it out, to mimic basically the public process that we use for constructing infrastructure. And they would be reimbursed back for the cost of that up to a cap of $8 million. So while we anticipate that the cost of this infrastructure will be less than $8 million, there is a cap in place which limits the port's cost exposure to $1.3 million, the difference between 6.7 and 8. And so the infrastructure is kind of the heart of this deal, and we wanted to give the developer the flexibility to construct this infrastructure prior to obtaining building permits for a building project, so that enhances their marketing position. The property is, quote unquote, shovel ready, and they're in a position to capture the users that come along through their marketing efforts. And so the chicken and the egg problem here is that by doing that, they own the land, and so to compel, if you will, actual construction of the project that we envision, we inserted a schedule of performance clause to the purchase and sale agreement, which it's not reflected in the working draft agreement that's attached to the staff report. It was added in negotiations after this staff report was published for this meeting. And the other component of that is the developer has added a force majeure clause to that schedule of performance. And so that clause has yet to be finalized. Frankly, we've continued negotiations up to until yesterday on this agreement. And so there is language related to the force majeure clause that staff has not accepted yet, and our recommendation to the commission is that clause be tightened up to eliminate economic factors and just make it a pure act of God force majeure clause. So that's the phase 1 project. Just very briefly, subject to performance, building phase 1, building the infrastructure, and the phase 1 project. The developer would be entitled to 2 additional 3-year options for the balance of the property, and that we anticipate that to be parcel 2, which is 25 acres, and the purchase price would be $6 to $7 million, depending on the time frame for closing on that land. So the agreement in its entirety, subject to performance, is 11 years. We think this is probably a 5 to 10 year development project to build the whole thing out. So that aligns, the option period aligns with the anticipated development time frame. So Madam Chair, I'm going to terminate or conclude my comments there and turn it back to the commission. The recommended action is that you approve the option agreement tonight through this resolution, and that you delegate to staff the authority to execute the option agreement as to the form attached to the staff report with any changes as shall be approved by the port attorney. And again, that recommended change is to tighten up the force majeure language. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Toft. Commissioner Ledesma or McGowan? Any comments or feedback, input?
No comments. I'll save comments after any public comment.
Yep. Before I go to that, Commissioner McGowan, questions at the moment?
I did the work.
All right. Any members of the public? I don't see any hands raised at the moment, but it's time. There are comments, questions, input. All right. I don't see any hands up. Meeting clerk, do you see?
None. No.
Thank you so much. All right. That brings us back then to the commission. Commissioner Ledesma.
Yeah, first of all, Rick and Aaron, thanks for the work on this. I know that it's been a lot of work going through a very important piece of land for the port, right? This just kicks off a very important piece of kind of where we are as a port and where we want to go and the type of development that we've been looking for a long time, and also representing our interests so well and our concerns around any agreement we may have. I think that's certainly an area where we were pretty clear of the last meeting we had, and appreciate the work you've done, appreciate the work that the applicant or developer has done, kind of meet us at that place. I understand your concerns and the concerns shared around the last provision, and I'm fine with delegating that back to you and to Aaron, our port CEO, to work with the developer. I'm hoping everybody can get to kind of agreement on that quickly, and but I'm fine with the recommended actions as presented with that condition or that extra item to be added.
Thank you, Commissioner Ledesma. Commissioner McGowan?
Yeah, I would agree. Actually, I'm looking here at this picture behind Rick, and it's bringing back a whole lot of memories for me growing up, watching the thing being built, and the years I spent on the commission before, and what it's done for our community and how it's making a change now. And so I look at the project as something that is really positive and favorable. And I really appreciate the work that the developers and staff have been doing. And my little favorite saying is, we're close, but it's not quite soup yet. So, you need to add in the potatoes and stir it up a little bit more. And then I think we've got a good deal. So thanks for bringing it to us. And like I told somebody else, when you and Aaron are happy, go ahead and cut this deal and finalize it, and we're good to go.
Thank you, Commissioner McGowan. I'm really excited about the project as well, and want to thank our staff team and also the developer for the interest in this project, which is super important for us. And the location is one that really matters to the whole area, the whole port. So I concur with my colleagues, and with that, no hands up for comment. I'd look for a motion from commission.
I will make a motion for the recommended action along with the new condition that giving staff delegated authority to go and negotiate final
Thank you,
pieces.
Commissioner Ledesma. Commissioner Ledesma moves.
Second.
Commissioner McGowan seconds. Madam Clerk, would you please call for the vote?
Commissioner Ledesma?
Aye.
Commissioner McGowan?
Aye.
Vice Chair Sandine?
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. And that brings us to our general administration portion of our agenda. Are there any reports from commissioners? CEO report?
Yeah, no official report tonight, but I just want to take a minute to acknowledge Rick and all the hard work that went into negotiating the deal the commission just approved. It's an exciting one in terms of the port's history, and Just want to take that moment to thank Rick. He did everything on the staff side.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Toft, for your hard work. All right, that leads us to adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Ledesma. Looks like seconded by Commissioner McGowan. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner McGowan,
Aye.
Commissioner Ledesma,
Aye.
Vice Chair Sandine.
Aye. Thank you all for the hard work, and see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank-